seem to have interfered once to defeat the scheme, but I could not expect such extraordinary circumstances to be repeated. And I was bound to do everything in my power to secure myself and my family from the wicked conspiracy of Isaac and Amos R. against my life, as well against my natural rights in my own person, and those which I had acquired under even the barbarous laws of slavery, by the money I had paid for myself. If Isaac would only have been honest enough to adhere to his own bargain, I would have adhered to mine. But his attempt to kidnap me again, after having pocketed 3/4 of my market value, absolved me of all obligation, in my opinion, to pay him any more or to continue the position which exposed me to his machinations. I determined to make my escape to Canada, of which I had heard something as beyond the limits of those United States. I felt that I should be safer under an entirely foreign jurisdiction. At length, the eventful night came. I went to the house to ask leave to take Tom home with me, that he might have his clothes mended. No objection was made, and I bade Master Amos good night for the last time. Thank you, kind sir, thank you, kind sir. It was about the middle of September, and by 9 o'clock in the evening, all was ready. It was a dark, moonless night, and we got into the little skiff in which I had induced a fellow slave to take us across the river. It was an agitating and solemn moment. We landed on the Indiana shore, and I began to feel that I was my own master. We were to travel by night and rest by day in the woods and bushes. We were thrown absolutely upon our own poor and small resources, and were to rely mostly on our own strength. When I got to the Canada side on the morning of 28th of October 1830, my first impulse was to throw myself on the ground and give way to the riotous exultation of my feelings, to execute sundry antics which excited the astonishment of those who were looking on. A gentleman of the neighborhood, Colonel Warren, who happened to be present, thought I was having a fit. And as he inquired what was the matter with this poor fellow, I jumped up and told him I was free. Oh, said he, with a hearty laugh. Is that it? I never knew freedom make a man roll in sand before. I hugged and kissed my wife and children all round with a vivacity which made them laugh as well as myself. There was not much time to be lost, though, in frolic, even at this extraordinary moment. I was a stranger in a strange land and had to look about me at once for refuge and resource. I found a lodging for the night, and the next morning set about exploring the interior for the means of support. I heard in the course of the day of a Mr. Hibbard who lived some 6 or 7 miles off, and who was a rich man, as riches were counted there, with a large farm and several small tenements on it, which he was in the habit of letting to his laborers. To him I went immediately. In the afternoon I found him and soon struck a bargain with him for employment. I asked him if there was any house where he would let me live. He said yes, and led the way to an old two-story sort of shanty, into the lower story of which the pigs had broken and had apparently made it their resting place for some time. Still, it was a house, and I forthwith expelled the pigs and set about cleaning it for the occupancy of a better sort of tenants. My employer soon found that my labor was of more value to him than that of those he was accustomed to hire, and as I consequently gained his favor, and his wife took quite a fancy to mine, we soon procured some of the comforts of life. While the necessaries of food and fuel were abundant, I remained with Mr. Hibbard 3 years.